Corruption, a dishonest for fraudulent conduct by those in power, typically involving bribery. Across the years, Malaysia has been plagued with corruption cases, with various corruption cases and scandals being discovered on a regular basis. On the Global Corruption Perception Index, Malaysia has scored a 50 in 2024, which doesn't seem high, but the corruption index has stayed virtually the same ever since 2014. Despite various initiatives being conducted to combat corruption this past decade, corruption in Malaysia continues to be a serious issue. Corruption in any government skill diminished the trust of the nation's citizens, with the 1MDB scandal in Malaysia being a prime example, declining Malaysians' trust in government which has only started to increase again in 2024. Many argue that the government is responsible for corruption, saying that they are not doing enough to curb its spread. But the role of civil society in promoting integrity is not to be taken lightly as well. As we all have the power to combat corruption, how? You may ask. Well, it can be something like this. Corruption is like an invisible plague, infiltrating every corner of society. It not only affects economic development but also erodes public trust in the government. Today, we follow a group of dedicated civil society members to see how they fight for fairness and justice.
Corruption in Malaysia have affected in every aspect of society. We have to do something about it.
Yes, corruption is not only damage the economy, but also jeopardize the future of young people.
Corruption is not just a moral issue. It has far-reaching consequences for society, from economic losses to judicial injustice and the breakdown of public trust. The cost of corruption is often greater than we imagine.
Here is a report on the economic impact of corruption. You see, embezzlement leads to government funds being misused, and taxpayers' money fails to benefit society as it should.
Not only that, corruption prevents many small businesses from competing fairly. Many projects end up in the hands of only a select few.
That's why our goal is to raise public awareness about corruption and push government accountability.
The power of civil society should not be underestimated. NGOs have always been at the forefront of the fight against corruption, exposing issues, advocating for policy reform, and providing support for whistleblowers.
At Transparency International Malaysia, we focus on policy research, promoting transparency and educate the public. We release a corruption perception index survey to push the government to disclose financial data.
The media is the fourth estate of society. They have the responsibility to expose the truth, track cases, and make sure corrupt individuals have nowhere to hide. But the road is not always easy.
Journalism is a powerful tool in exposing corruption. Our job is to find evidence and bring the truth to light.
But we must be careful. Investigative journalism is not always welcome. Corrupt individuals will do whatever they can to silence the truth.
With advancements in technology, everyone now has a voice. Social media has become a key battleground in the fight against corruption, enabling citizens to report cases, engage in discussions, and advocate for social change.
Hello everyone, today we are discussing corruption issue in Malaysia. If you have any related in case, you can report them anonymously. The voice of people is crucial.
One of Malaysia's most shocking corruption scandals, the 1MDB scandal, shook the entire world. Its exposure was not only due to investigative journalists, but also international cooperation and the relentless efforts of civil society.
The revelation of this case wouldn't have been possible without the combined efforts of the media, international investigators, and civil society. The continuous attention from the public forced the government to take action.
That tainted the top levels of Malaysia's government. At the center was One Malaysia Development Berhad, or 1MDB, a Malaysian state investment fund, chaired by then Prime Minister Najib Razak, The fund was created in 2009 to finance economic development projects. With the help of financier Joe Low and Wall Street bank Goldman Sachs, 1MDB raised billions of dollars in bonds. But instead of forging partnerships and advancing growth for the country, Najib, Low, and other associates allegedly stole $4.5 billion from 1MDB over several years. When the fraud was uncovered in 2015, it sparked massive protests in Malaysia.
Everyone's come out here today is because of one issue. The government is too rotten. And the people come out here is actually just request the government to be clean.
For a time, it seemed like changes had been set in motion.
Fighting corruption is not just about exposing problems, it's about driving change. The power of civil society can influence government legislation and create a more transparent and accountable system.
We need to put more pressure on the government to pass stronger whistleblower protection laws.
If more people are willing to stand up, the government won't be able to ignore public demand.
Maybe we can launch an online petition to get more people involved.
This requires solid legal backing. I can provide relevant legal documents to ensure our proposals are well-founded.
Every revelation, every act of advocacy is part of the fight against corruption. Civil society is the driving force of social change, and you too can be part of it.
The fight against corruption cannot be won overnight, but every effort we put will create a fairer society.
We need to make sure that everyone knows they have the power to change this country.
Together, let us keep fighting for transparency and justice.
So let's stop keep silence, start frame with our concerns, and take action, say no to corruption.
Due to the continuous changes of governments of Malaysia, corruption cases in our country have not decreased. Changing the government means replacing a new set of faces to continue the corruption, which is becoming more and more serious. The government has introduced a series of policies to reduce corruption, but there is no sign of improvement. We are here to inform the public that reducing corruption requires not only government action but also the cooperation of the people. Corruption is everywhere, starting from the simplest kopi luwak. You and I can reduce corruption.
Fighting corruption isn't just the government's responsibility, it's something we all have a role in. As citizens, we need to stay alert and make sure we don't take part in it or turn a blind eye. Corruption thrives when people stay silent or indifferent. But when each of us choose to say no, we take away its power bit by bit. It starts with the small things, refusing to give or take bribes, speaking up when something feels wrong, and holding those in power accountable. Only when the people stand united and take a firm stand can the fight against corruption truly success.
However, much like when handling a disease, we might not be able to fully remove corruption, but we can do everything we can to help prevent and reduce its influence. This is not just the responsibility of government officials, but also for all of us too. We all hold the power to help combat corruption, and the nation has provided us tools to do so. We as citizens have hotlines to report corruption on any level and are protected by the Whistleblower Protection Act. Most importantly, we have the power to keep our government in check and hold them accountable for their actions. But we can only do this if we act, not turn a blind eye to what we see. We civilians have a huge role in promoting integrity and anti-corruption in Malaysia. And therefore, we must act for the sake of a better future. So get out there, and if you see any acts of corruption, be brave and report it.
Anti-corruption is a right.